Warm welcome. We are reporting live right outside the Supreme Court of India, 10:30 a.m. All eyes trained on the Supreme Court. That is when the hearing will begin in the black money case. The Supreme Court yesterday served an ultimatum to the NDA government, asked it to reveal all 628 names on the black money list. That was when, of course, it was hearing a fresh application by the government on the modification of names, and that is when it asked that to reveal all 628 names. 10:30 a.m. is when proceedings will begin right at the Supreme Court. To give us a pan perspective on that, Jaskirat Singh Bawa will be reporting live from inside the Supreme Court, getting us a minute-to-minute account on what transpires there right outside. Ashish Mehrishi breaking it down in layman terms and what the developments going on inside will be. In the studio with us is our executive editor Javed Ansari, giving us the political implication of what transpired. The NDA government romped to power on the poll plank of exposing the black money racket. Now been forced to do so by the Supreme Court. Let's listen in to all the reactions that we're getting in. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi speaking.
The Supreme Court has asked me to give the entire list to the Supreme Court, so I will give it in a sealed cover to the court. The sealed cover means that they will be in custody of the court and will not be made public unless the court so directs. It will be my plea in the court that these should be kept in a sealed cover, failing which we will be willy-nilly breaching the clause of confidentiality.
Already, the finance minister yesterday said that they have absolutely no qualms by giving out all 628 names. One does wonder why they were selective by just giving out 3 of the 8 that they had submitted 2 days back. I'd like to cut across at this point of time. Jaskirat Singh Bawa, who's been reporting from inside the Supreme Court, has been getting us a minute-to-minute, blow-by-blow account. He's joining us live at this point of time. Jaskirat, 10:30 a.m. is when proceedings will begin. Now, to take the point of view of what the government is saying, what the finance minister is saying, what Mukul Rohatgi, the Attorney General, said, that they've already submitted the list to the SIT. So therefore, absolutely no qualms by submitting the same names to the Supreme Court. Now, when you look at it, now this SIT has been constituted by the Supreme Court itself.
Absolutely. This is actually, the devil is in the detail of what was not really said. And this is something we're hearing, the buzz, of course, from the Supreme Court corridors, but also from what we are hearing from the offices of the official lawyers of the government of India. The SIT is a creature of the Supreme Court. It's a creation of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could very well have asked the SIT directly to give it all the information that it needed. The SIT can actually have its own lawyer and legal representation, and the Supreme Court who can pass on that information to the Supreme Court. Then why then? A very important question.
All right, there you have it. Pinky Anand, there she is an ASG, but she's also speaking right now in the capacity of a BJP leader, saying those 628 names will be kept confidential. They will be submitted to the Supreme Court in a sealed envelope. There are political implications of what is going to go on at the Supreme Court. The proceedings, of course, will begin once again, to remind our viewers, at 10:30 a.m. Now, what those political implications are, to jog our viewers' memory, this election, the NDA romped to power. One of the poll planks it fought on was to bring black money home. They had the opportunity, they squandered it away, and now primarily forced by the Supreme Court to reveal the very names they said that they are going to make public when they were fighting for power. I'd like to cut across at this point of time. In the studio with me is our executive editor, Javed Ansari, who's going to be taking us through the political implications of this. Javed, the NDA this time, pretty much what the UPA did, squandering away an opportunity, more so because they had fought on the same very plank, something that they could have done, that they should have done, now being made to do by the Supreme Court.
Yes, in many ways this is an opportunity loss, but let's also be fair, this government has been in power only for 4 months. These names were with the previous government for over 2 years. The thing that this NDA government ought to have done, the finance ministry ought to have done, is to reveal the process of investigation, the steps that they've taken ever since they've come to power. But perhaps for one reason or the other, they muddled it. Hints were dropped that these lists contain names of congressmen, and if revealed, the Congress leadership would end up being embarrassed. Instead, what was revealed were 3 names which actually didn't end up, which actually ended up embarrassing the government more than anything else, because this has turned out to be a damp squib. So rather than dwell on all that the NDA government had done, they started scoring political points. And now that initiative probability has also been taken away from their hands, because
Yes.
this list will now be presented to the Supreme Court in a sealed cover. So leaks, if they do happen, selective leaks at that, will rebound on the government, and perhaps all this could have been avoided with better handling on the part of the BJP government.
Well, the Congress already hammer and tongs after the BJP and the centre, calling it nothing but red herring where the BJP's campaign is concerned. The latest we're also getting in at this point of time is that not just the Congress, political implications being felt in the state of Maharashtra as well. The Shiv Sena has now come down heavily, criticised the BJP, the centre, in fact, for not taking strong action on the issue of black money, revealing just 3 names, what they call is small fish, when they had the opportunity to go to town and claim what they had promised the people of the country. We're going to try and cut across to Brijesh Pandey, but in just a short while, let me quickly go back to Javed for a quick word before we cut across to Ashish Mehrishi. Javed, quite understandable, because the coalition still being brokered in Maharashtra, and the Shiv Sena finding a ready plank right now to maybe leverage some more political points.
Well, absolutely. First it was the Congress and the Aam Aadmi, and now the Shiv Sena. And much of this is because the BJP had built up so much of hopes. They had raised expectations on that issue. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in speech after speech in his election campaign in the run-up to the 2014 elections,
Yes.
spoke of black money. He said within 100 days they'll bring back money. There were references, insinuations made about of people close to the Gandhi family being involved. And now what we have is a damn squib. And therefore, it's not just the Congress, but all those now opposed or ranged against the government who were using this to go for the government juggler, to try and call the bluff. And this is what the Congress spokeswoman was saying all of yesterday. Look, we told you so. This was nothing. This was only bluff and bluster. And what has come out is an absolute damp squib.
Well, where the Shiv Sena is concerned, clearly playing passive-aggressive at this point of time. Yesterday, it was all praise for Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. And now, of course, trying to tighten the screws where the black money issue is concerned. Well, those are the side political developments which are taking place on this big story that Headlines Today is tracking. Once again, to apprise our viewers on what we are expecting, 10:30 a.m. is when proceedings will begin. The hearing will start on the black money issue. What we are expecting, and something that the Finance Minister and the BJP has confirmed, that all 628 names will be revealed to the Supreme Court, albeit in a sealed envelope. However, we just heard the Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi, who had stated that it will all be done under the confidentiality clause, quoting Article 21 of the Constitution. And there is a need to maybe understand better the implications of revealing these 628 names to the Supreme Court. And I'd like to bring in Ashish Mehrishi, who's going to simplify it for our viewers. Ashish, there is a general perception which goes about that if you have a bank account abroad, it is illegal. Now, can you, define the legalities of having a bank account abroad, which maybe is all clear?
Well, in fact, Preeti, if you see, opening a bank account abroad is not illegal. But then you have to take permission. Any money that goes abroad is covered under a Foreign Exchange Management Act, which is actually, you have to take permission from the Reserve Bank of India. Through the automatic route, any person can send up to $1,25,000 abroad. That can be done easily. But then we are talking about huge amounts of money. This is not around only $1,25,000 per year. That is not what we are talking about. You can open an account abroad with the permission of RBI, and apart from that, this money, whatever the transaction, whatever the usage of this money has been, it has to be mentioned into the return that you file with the tax authorities in India. Now, prima facie, if you see the 628 names, out of this, according to the the sources of the Finance Ministry, 1/3 are NRIs. So NRIs can open bank accounts abroad. They might be Indians, but they are NRIs. They don't come under the purview of the Indian tax net. Thus, they can open the account, and they don't come under the Indian tax purview. Secondly, out of that, 2/3 at least are being investigated. So on the face of it, as of now, if this money is not mentioned in the returns that has has been filed with the income tax authorities, then it is very clearly, and if there is no permission from RBI, it very clearly means that this money is black money, because otherwise you have to mention it into the income tax return and take permission from RBI. So here it is very important to see if this is investigated, whether the permission was taken from RBI, and whether the money that we are talking about, does it mention into the income tax returns of these individuals.
All right, Ashish, appreciate you joining us at this point of time. Ashish Mehroshi will be breaking down the legalities of this story there. The big story emanating from the Supreme Court of India. 10:30 a.m. in just a short while from now, the hearing will begin in the Supreme Court. Jaskirat Singh Bawa will be inside getting us a minute-to-minute update. Ashish Mehroshi outside. In the studio with us, Javed Ansari talking about taking us through the political implications of the story. I'd like to cut across at this point of time my colleague Aviral in the studio with us, taking you through the modalities of what we are expecting today. It's over to you, Aviral.
Thanks, Preeti, for that. We'll, of course, go through what we can expect really to happen today. The HSBC list that the government has is about 628 accounts. The consent has been obtained for about 175 accounts. And as Ashish also pointed out, the investigations on these accounts has already begun. The details, however, that have been obtained out of these 175 accounts is only for 75 accounts. And this is what Ashish was also talking about as far as the SIT investigations is concerned. The income tax assessment, of course, is complete in those very few accounts as far as from these 75 accounts, and that really it brings up the problem of the coordination between the Enforcement Directorate and the IT authorities.
All right, appreciate you joining us. Aviral would be taking us through on what to expect through the course of the day. 10:30 a.m., let's remind our viewers, is when the hearing will begin at the Supreme Court. With us will be Jaskirat Singh Bawa, Ashish Mehroshi, Javed Ansari, Executive Editor, and Aviral in the studio. Trust headlines today to get you the vantage position on the story. The big story emanating out of the Supreme Court, 10:30 a.m. is when the hearing will start on the black money issue. Why is it big? Because yesterday the Supreme Court served an ultimatum to the NDA government forcing it to reveal all names in the black money list, all 628 names. The government on its part, the finance minister yesterday also stated that they have absolutely no qualms revealing these names. They've already done it to the Supreme Court constituted SIT, and they will do it today. What we are expecting, the centre in a sealed envelope respecting the privacy clause, Article 21 under the Indian Constitution, will submit all 628 names to the Supreme Court. 10:30 a.m. is when the hearing will start. My colleague Jaskirat Singh Bawa is with me right now, right before he goes inside to get us the latest updates. I want to get a quick question in from him. Jaskirat, just take us through on what set the stage for today. What transpired yesterday for viewers who are just joining us?
Not just yesterday. The stage was actually set when the Attorney General came to the Supreme Court just before the Diwali vacation and said that we need a clarification, or in subtle words, a modification of the 2011 order. Ram Jethmalani immediately got up in the court and in a very angry tone said they are trying to protect, or the very people who have black money abroad are the ones who drafted this. It was a very unusual statement being made against this government, which is in fact had a election manifesto which had black money in it, getting back black money, and also the very government which had set up the SIT. So that really became a battle of perception itself. Yesterday the Supreme Court told the government in as many words that in our time it doesn't look like this black money is going to come back, this information is going to come out. Why didn't you do one thing? Just give us the information, we'll pass it on to the investigating team. Pretty much telling the government, your job is just to get that information, we'll get the investigation done on our end.
You know, just before I'm going to let you go, in quick 5 points, take our viewers through. It's a 5-year case. Yesterday, in a fresh application filed by the government, is when these turning observations were made. They were told to reveal all names. If you can take us through the top 5 or 6 points that this case has seen over the last 5 years, just take us through that.
Well, of course, 2011 is when the order had come out. When the order had come out, initially, of course, some names were being brought up by the UP government, but very reluctantly. The major step in this case actually happened when the current government came into power in May of this year, and the first SIT was set up. The SIT was actually set up as per the Supreme Court order, which had not been followed for a long time. Ram Jethmalani had also, he's the main petitioner, so that's his main locus standi in this case. He had come to the Supreme Court just a few months before the election results were out, saying, filing a contempt petition saying that the order was not followed and the SIT was not set up. After setting up the SIT, of course, this is when the government came up with this application. That's where the major, you could say, a point came in this particular case, where the government said, for our past treaties and for, very importantly, our future treaties with foreign banks and governments for the revelation of information, we cannot reveal all the information that you had asked us to reveal back in 2011. So we need a clarification, a modification of that order. And that led to the anger of the court. And as many words, the Chief Justice of India yesterday telling the Attorney General, we will not change any part, any word of that 2011 order. Give us all the information. We'll go ahead with the investigation.
All right. With that, Jaskirat, we're going to let you go. Jaskirat Singh Baba will be reporting from inside the Supreme Court, giving us a minute-to-minute updates on what's going on. 10:30 a.m. is when the hearing will begin, and Jaskirat will keep us updated. Political implications as well of this story. The NDA pretty much forced to do what it could, what it ideally should have done, what it promised to do, now being forced to do so by the Supreme Court. Many from the Congress said that all those promises was nothing but red herring. We'll be cutting across to Ashar Ahmad Khan, who's getting us reactions from the Congress, and I believe we are joined right now by Brijesh Pandey. He's joining us from the BJP headquarters, picking up the latest coming in from there. We'll also be cutting across to our studio. Javed Ansari, our executive editor, giving us a pan perspective on the political implications of it. Ashish Mehrishi is also with us. He's joining me right here from the Supreme Court, talking us through the legal jargon, simplifying it for our viewers. But first up, cutting across to Brijesh Pandey. Brijesh, you know, the finance minister yesterday came out and said that they have absolutely no qualms in revealing these names because they've already done so. They've revealed it to the Supreme Court constituted SIT. Now, is there a feeling in the BJP at this point of time that maybe the Supreme Court could have directly got the names from the SIT, because it is a Supreme Court constituted SIT, and why publicly, embarrass the centre? Is there a feeling, because, the people we've been speaking to, a perception of that is coming through?
Well, there are two thoughts in the BJP about it, but perhaps the most dominant thought and slightly more damaging is that what they feel is that this issue could have been handled much better fashion by the BJP, especially the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, because they are saying that, when the names have already been provided to SIT, what stopped the Attorney General or the Solicitor General from conveying this to the Supreme Court yesterday itself? Why it took the Finance Minister to speak later on when the court had passed a stinging rebuke to the government and asking them to virtually hand over all the names? What stopped them from telling that the names are already lying with the SIT? So there is a feeling within the BJP that this whole black money issue has not been dealt with very wisely, and this is the reason when the Congress stepped up its attack, the Finance Minister gave a couple of interviews and he virtually threatened Congress by saying that the Congress party, which is demanding so much this, might suffer some embarrassment, and after that the three names came out. This led to a widespread conversation. And in fact, on the social media circuit, which is an avowed follower of Narendra Modi government, and they've been favoring the government, even their die-hard fans have now airing their rant against the government, asking them that the conduct of the government is definitely not becoming of a party which won absolute majority, and one of the major electoral plank was that we will get the black money within 100 days. The government is kind of faltering, and the way it has been handling situation looks like the government is trying to protect, whereas it is on the contrary. But the matter of the perception war, the government is fast losing the perception war. Preeti?
Well, you're right, bang on, Brijesh, not just in the BJP, the perception even outside the common people that the Congress and even the common man who voted the BJP to power, stating that they have not handled this issue very well. And as Brijesh was pointing out, the social media right now completely agog. That kind of flack the Modi government hasn't got since it's come into power. Just to quote a few tweets at this point of time. Modi for India said, Prime Minister, sir, you promised us. Why did you not deliver? Many more tweets. We'll take our viewers, we'll go back to the studio and take our viewers through what the social media and how the social media is tracking this event. But slipping into a quick break, we'll be back with Ashish Mehrishi, who will break down the legal jargon for us. The big story emanating right from the Supreme Court, 10:30 a.m. is when the hearing will begin. The government will, the centre, reveal all names in a sealed envelope, I'll bet.